Hey, Commanders Nation, get ready because what I have to share today could change how you see the future of our team. The season hasn't even truly begun, but things are already heating up behind the scenes, and we need to talk about it with the utmost urgency. Some people are fighting for their survival on the roster, and Adam Peters and Dan Quinn's decisions are closer than ever, defining who stays and who goes. Stick with me until the end because this news is the kind you won't want to miss a second of. I promise every detail will keep you hooked until the very last moment. You know we're in a new era in Washington, right? Adam Peters and Dan Quinn are setting a new standard of excellence, and what we saw against the Patriots in the preseason, even with 30 important players out, has already set off the maximum alert. Coach Quinn was very direct with the guys, and the truth is that Peters doesn't play around. 8 transactions right after that loss. This shows that things are serious and that no one is safe, regardless of their name or history. It's a moment of great expectation for us, passionate fans, but of immense uncertainty for the players seeking a spot. And that's what we're going to delve into today because 5 important names are seeing their chances drastically diminish on the depth chart. And the final cuts are knocking on the door with full force. Washington's decision makers are closely following every move, every practice, every play before the dreaded roster reduction date. And even those who make up the initial 53-player roster may not be safe if Peters sees some signings on the waiver list that could be useful. It's a true game of chess, and we're here to analyze every move. Let's start with a name that generated a lot of curiosity when he arrived, KJ Osborne. I remember being super excited when we got him at the end of last season, after Noah Brown's injury, thinking about the potential he brought. He didn't shine against the Patriots, but what he did with the Vikings, that gave hope for a solid receiver. We thought, wow, an experienced veteran to help our air attack, a guy who knows the ropes. But the reality, my friends, is that he was used very little, more as an emergency option, almost a stopgap. And even though he was kept this offseason, that didn't guarantee him a permanent spot on the roster. We know that without Terry McLaurin, the dynamics of our receiving core completely change. And last week was a true test of fire for Osborne and others in the same situation. He only had 2 receptions on 5 targets for 14 yards against the Patriots. And the worst part? He dropped some catchable balls, plays he needed to have caught. That's frustrating to see because in such a tight competition, every detail counts a lot. You can't falter now. There's still a light at the end of the tunnel for Osborne, of course. He'll probably get more playing time on Monday Night Football against the Bengals, a golden opportunity to turn the game around. But, and here's my concern as a fan, if he's still having to fight for prominence in the last friendly against the Ravens, that will tell us everything we need to know about his future here. I really hope he shows what he's come for, that he can impose himself and prove his worth, but the pressure is enormous and time is short. He needs a memorable performance, something that puts him back in the conversation. Now, let's go to the running backs room, which is becoming more and more defined. And that leaves me with a mix of anxiety and optimism. It seems that Brian Robinson Jr., Austin Eckler, and rookie Jackery Krosky-Merritt, who was a 7th-round pick, will be the main names in 2025. And honestly, this combination already makes me very excited. We have speed, strength, and versatility, which is essential for our ground attack. But what if the team decides to take 4 players for the final 53 roster? Then the door opens a little more for some who are losing ground quickly, and Chris Rodriguez Jr. is on that list. I remember Rodriguez, who was a 6th-round pick, showed some glimpses of potential last season when he had his chances and managed some consistent runs. There wasn't complete confidence in him at the end of the season, but Adam Peters, with the vision he has, thought it was worth giving another 1-year contract to see if there was still something to be explored, an unexplored potential that could emerge. He's been solid this summer, but not spectacular, which isn't enough when the competition is so strong. Against the Patriots, it was 22 yards on 6 carries. It wasn't terrible, but we saw Jeremy McNichols and Demetric Felton show much more when they were called upon, with more explosion and ability to create plays. This is a warning sign for Rodriguez, who needs to overcome adversity once again and show something more. As a fan, I want to see everyone succeed, but the competition is cruel and the level of demand has increased. Even if he doesn't get a spot on the main roster, we know the team can easily put him on the practice squad to continue his development, which would be a good alternative to not lose him. But his goal, for sure, is the main roster, and he needs impactful performances in the coming weeks to guarantee that. The window of opportunity is closing, and he needs to take advantage of every rep to prove he deserves a place. Colson Yankoff's situation, our tight end, isn't exactly a surprise, but it still makes me think about what could have been. He's at the bottom of the unofficial depth chart, listed as the 4th tight end, behind names like the experienced Zach Ertz, blocking specialist John Bates, and our promising rookie Ben Sinnott, who was a 2nd-round pick and is already being considered for the 2024 Pro Bowl. This greatly increases the pressure on him to get his spot again, making the task almost Herculean. It may not mean anything, it may just be a formality, But it was a subtle sign that Yankov's spot on the roster isn't as guaranteed as some of us thought before the preparations for the new season. I remember Yankov came out of nowhere last summer and earned a spot on the 53-player roster, which was a very pleasant surprise and gave us hope of having another weapon on offense. He was used sparingly on game days, but being in the locker room during such a memorable season must have been an incredible experience for him. Even so, the need to stand out quickly became his main goal this offseason, as competition increased considerably. He had some good moments in practice, yes, showing flashes of his potential. Against the Patriots, he had 1 reception on 2 targets for 9 yards. But, and here comes the problem, he was overshadowed by Lawrence Kager, who has been a true monster on the field. Kager is a physically dominant figure who takes every opportunity he has to stand out and get the coaching staff's attention. Yankov needs to give his all in the coming weeks to increase his chances. He needs to show that he can be as impactful as Kager, or even more. It's a do-or-die moment for him, and I, as a fan, am rooting for him. But the reality is harsh, and the competition is relentless. He needs a quality leap urgently. The fight for the wide receiver spots on our team continues to be fierce, and that leaves my heart in my hands, as it's a crucial position for the success of our offense. Terry McLaurin's contract situation is a distraction we could do without, but meanwhile, other players are getting the chance to impress and prove they deserve a place. At the beginning of the summer, the signs were encouraging, and I remember thinking, yes, we have depth here. That's great for our quarterback. But the joint practices and the preseason game against the Patriots exposed some potential flaws further down the chart, which only increased the urgency to resolve the situation with McLaurin, our main receiver. Adam Peters chose not to bring in another receiver this week, which is a vote of confidence in the current players, but you can be sure the general manager is monitoring their progress more closely than ever. And, in my opinion, as a fan who follows everything, no one has lost more ground in recent days than Chris Moore. He emerged as a highlight at the beginning of the summer, forcing his way into the team's plans with consistent performances. I, myself, saw him as a strong candidate to join the roster, with his experience and ability to run routes. But 2 missed passes against the Patriots abruptly interrupted his rhythm, and that was a cold shower. Moore's entry into the team was always a risky bet, and now he finds himself in a delicate situation. It will take a huge effort for him to recover from this setback, to show that those mistakes were just a slip and not a pattern. But any other failures in the next 2 weeks will not be positive for the player. It's time to show service, Chris, to catch every ball and prove you deserve to be here. And last but not least, let's talk about our offensive line, which is giving me a bit of a headache, to be quite honest. No one is pressing the panic button yet, but it's something that we, fans, will monitor closely before week 1 against the Giants next month, because protecting the quarterback is fundamental. Sam Cosmi, our right guard, is recovering from an ACL tear, a serious injury that worries us. Dan Quinn hasn't completely ruled him out for immediate inclusion, which would be great news, but it wouldn't be a surprise to see him start on the physically unable to perform list to ensure his full recovery. And Brandon Coleman, who is transitioning to the left guard position this season, was out last week after leaving practice. The team is being super cautious, which is good, but it's crucial that he returns quickly and adapts to the new position. On the ends, we have no problems, which is a relief. Laramie Tunsil is playing as expected, a rock in protection, and Josh Connerly Jr. has evolved a lot in recent days, showing incredible potential, which is great news for the future of our line. But the same doesn't happen with Tyre Phillips, that free agent who was seeking a reserve position in 2025, a veteran we expected to bring depth. Phillips had an underperforming performance in the preseason debut against the Patriots, making mistakes that can't happen. And we've already seen that Adam Peters and Dan Quinn don't hesitate to remove those who aren't part of the plans, who don't deliver what's expected. So Tyre Phillips is already fighting a losing battle in his search for a spot on the roster. It's sad to see, but the competition is relentless, and the demand is very high in this new era. So, my friends, this is the raw reality that our commanders are facing at this crucial moment. It's a time of crucial decisions, and every play, every practice, every mistake can mean the difference between realizing a dream or seeing it fade before your eyes. I really want to know your opinion on these 5 players. Do you think any of them can still turn the game around and surprise the coaching staff? Or is the situation already defined for most of them with the cuts approaching? Leave your comments below because your opinion is super important to our community of fans, and I want to read each one of them. And if you've come this far, it's because this news has hooked you, right? So please, don't forget to leave your like, share this video with the people who are also Commanders fans, and most importantly of all, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell to not miss any exclusive updates and in-depth analysis about our team. We're building the biggest community of fans here on YouTube, and your participation is essential for our growth. And now, the question that won't be answered, that will leave us thinking until the next update and keep us attentive to every move. With so many players fighting for a spot and the preseason coming to an end, Do Adam Peters and Dan Quinn already have a plan B to fill the gaps that arise? Or will we still see unexpected surprises on the final 53-player roster with names we didn't even imagine being released or added? What do you think will happen?